Hello, my name's Noel and I'm an AI automations expert, and in this course I'm going to take you through how we can create social media content using tools like make.com and Airtable, along with a few tools for creating the AI content and AI images. So if you've never heard of make.com, it's an incredible tool, and what we can do is you can seamlessly connect thousands of applications within the platform to each other. So there's no real limit on what we can do, but in this course we're just going to go through some of the basic modules. This is all very much beginner friendly, so we're going to use things like Anthropic Claude. We're going to use Airtable as our basis to create the social media content. But you might be asking, what does this look like? So here within Airtable, we're going to supply a post idea and a reference URL, and the reference URL, we'll use that to go off and scrape the content of an article, so we can provide that into the AI to give it as much context as we can, so the posts that are created are as accurate as possible. So we will also be able to select which platform we would like the post to be created for. We've also got a column here which will go through and will show you the post that's been created. And we've also got a column here where we can define whether or not we would like or would not like an image created. And once we've got that, we'll go off and get a image prompt, and we'll use a tool called Fal AI to go off and create the images based on the image prompts. So that's Airtable, and I'm going to very quickly show you what we're going to go through in make.com. This is the scenario. It looks a little complicated, but I can assure you this is going to take you through all of the basics to get you familiarized with the platform. So what we've got here, we've got two different routes within the system. This top route up here will take us through getting the information from a URL, and then we've got the options for if it's Instagram, Facebook or LinkedIn, and at the end here we've got the options where we're creating image prompts if we need it, and then we're triggering the image creation model, Fal AI. So if we don't provide a website URL, then we can just provide text as an input. So it will come down this route, and it will basically do the same again. It will create the post, and it will go off and create the images if we've asked for it. There is also a second part to this scenario. So with creating AI images, it can take a varying amount of time to complete. So what we do is we're going to create a second scenario, and it's very simple. We're just going to create a simple webhook which will look for when the image is finished being created, and once it has, we're going to search for the ID within our database that we've saved from the previous scenario and link that image into our database. So when it comes through, it will come in and it will populate in the correct row. So that's a very quick overview of what this course is all about. If this is for you, then that's great. Please sign up, and I'll see you in the following videos. Hello, in this first part of the course, we're going to go through make.com, and we're going to go through some of the other tools as well, just to get you familiarized, get all the accounts set up. But the big one for them right now is setting up make.com. And what make.com is a platform which will allow you to seamlessly connect thousands of applications together in scenarios, so we can share data with AI or between different tools in a drag and drop, no code automation. It's fantastic what you can do with this tool. It's really incredible. And what's also amazing about this is there is no cost to get started and to do this course with make.com. So if I go very quickly, we'll go through to the pricing. So you'll see here there is a free plan, and this gives you 1,000 operations a month. And what an operation is every time a application within make.com is triggered and you step through the process, that uses one operation. So as an example for the automation that we're going to set up for the project within this course, we're going to be using between 9 or 6 operations for every single time that we create a social media post. So for the 1,000 monthly operations, we're looking at about 100 social media posts that we can create, and that's on the free account, which is brilliant. So how do we get started? So if we head over to the login, and there's a link to make.com within the description if you need it, but we're just going to go to login, and we'll then need to go off and create an account. So you'll go off and fill this in with your password, your region, country, and all that good stuff. And what we'll do is I'll log in now, and then we'll go through the dashboard. So go ahead, create the account, and I'll see you in just a second in the dashboard. Okay, so now we are in the dashboard, and here we can see all kinds of things and stats that can keep us up to date with what's going on with our automations. So at the very top part here of the dashboard, it shows you your price that you're paying currently. So if you've signed up for the free account, that'll be 0 and you'll have 1,000. But for me, I'm on the core plan, so I've got 10,000 operations per month, and I've not really used that many so far. And we can also see down here the usage reset date. So for me, that's going to turn over in about 3 days. So that means my usage limit will get reset and I'll get my 10,000 tokens back. And we can also see your usage over time as well. So I've had a test running for the past few days going on here. So we can see in purple, that is the amount of operations I've used per day. And in orange is the data transfer. So we can download files, move them to things like Google Drive, and that would then start eating into your data transfer budget. But for this course, we're not going to really worry about that. We're only going to be dealing with text, and then we're just going to be saving images to Airtable from a URL. So we're not going crazy on data transfer, so you'll be absolutely fine with that limit. So we can also see down here we have active scenarios. At the moment, there are no active scenarios within the account. I've completely cleared it out, so there's no scenarios in there. Okay, so at the top we have the Teams tab. So in here we can create different teams. I won't click on that now because it might show some personal information and emails and things like that, so I won't show that. But yeah, you can create as many teams as you wish. You can also invite or add users to your account. So if you would like a developer to have access, you can give them access through the users part. The subscription that obviously goes through and will show you the subscription you're currently on and your options for upgrading. If I click on this one at the moment, we can stay on like the core plan, but you can use the drop down menu and then increase the amount of operations you would wish per month. So if we still wanted the core plan and 2 million operations, then that's going to cost me a hefty $162 per month. But yeah, there's tons of different options within here. We can also go through your payments and things like that. We've also got installed apps. We'll go through installed apps because I have created a custom app which I will share with you as part of this course, and that would be, once installed, would be shown in the installed apps. And variables and scenario properties, that's a bit advanced, so we're not going to go through that in this course, and it won't be shown within the scenarios that we're going to build. So that'll be part of our future courses. So you'll notice we also have a navigation section here on the left hand side. So team kind of links to the Teams tab, so it'll just show you the team that you're in and who's part of that team. But if you're just using an account with yourself, then you'll never need to go in there. Right, so the next one down is scenarios. Now this is the real meat of it. Okay, so within the scenarios, we can go through and we can create different folders, and we can also create a new scenario with this nice big purple button up here. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail right now. We'll go through that in step by step in the next and the following videos. We can also see how many active, inactive scenarios we also have as well. And if we had them in here and we clicked on them, it would also then filter the results, so you can see all of your inactive scenarios. So the next bit down, we've got templates, Templates are really great if you are new to make.com, so you can click on them shown here, and then we can then go through like a setup guide where make.com will take you through how to create the connections to the different apps and import this particular template into one of your scenarios. It's a real great way if you're a beginner and want to get started. But what we're going to do is we're going to create the project from scratch. So we're going to start off with a blank canvas and then build from it from there. So that should hopefully give you the confidence to go off and build things on your own. So you may never really look at the templates tab again, but it is there if you do require. The connections. So connections goes through all of the different apps that are connected within the account. So I've got a few in here already, but these are all testing. So I'm going to delete all of those. And then we're going to start with a complete fresh when we go through and start connecting things like Airtable and Anthropic onto the account. We also have webhooks. Now webhooks, we that's a bit advanced. We're not going to go and have a look at that as part of this course. Essentially, it just lists all of the webhooks that you have on your account, but really we don't really need to look into that. Under more, there are a few more advanced features in there, which we won't go through as part of this course, but there is a custom app, which I will provide a bit later on in this course, but you won't need to code the app yourself. But if you would wish to code an app, then that is within the custom apps section. But for you, it will just be a 3-click installation and it will be up and running, all ready to go. So that is an overview of the make.com dashboard. And in the next video, we're going to start creating the connections to the applications that we're going to need going forward for this course. In this video, I'm going to go and take you through how we can go off and create a Airtable account. And we're going to create a simple base within Airtable, and a base is essentially a database. And then we're going to go off and create the connection to make.com, which we can then use later on within the larger project. So this is going to be very simple, should be very quick. But what we're going to do is we're going to sign up for free. Again, Airtable has a great free plan so that you can create all kinds of different stuff. I think you are limited with the amount of rows that you can have. Let's just quickly check the pricing. So you are allowed a unlimited number of data, but you're limited to 1,000 records in each base. So a record is one row within the database, and we're also limited to 1 GB of attachments per base, which we may have some issues with the images, but we can. This is going to be plenty to get you started. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sign up for free. So what I'll do is I will go off and put my details in here, and I will meet you in just a moment within the dashboard. Okay, so I've just created the account and it's gone off and created a base, which is just a standard template that they use. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click back, which is just up here, and come to the dashboard so we can see our untitled base in here. And that's all we really need to do. So I need to go off and verify my email. And once I've done that, I'm going to head back to make.com and we're going to start to create the connection to Airtable. Okay, so now we're back within make.com. Let's go through and start to create the connection to Airtable. So on the dashboard here, we can see we have the purple button to create a new scenario. So I'm just going to click on that one. And this is then going to bring us straight to the scenario builder. And we just get the big purple plus and a whole list of thousands of apps that we can connect to. Luckily for us, Airtable's really popular, so it's right at the top of the list almost. So it should be just here. If you can't find it, you can use the search apps module down here and just start typing in Airtable and it'll bring it up for you. But as it's right here, I'm just going to click on Airtable. And what we need to do is, there's a 2-step process to this. So we need to, first of all, we need to create like the read access, and we also then need to create a write access. So what I'm going to do is select the watch records. And this will then add the module into our scenario builder. And we're met with a create a connection screen. So what we now need to do is click create a connection. And what we need to also bear in mind is if you're already signed into your Airtable account, it should also remember that when we go through this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Airtable OAuth connection type. It's going to click there. And we can rename the connection, which I am going to do. So I'm just going to call this Airtable All Access. We can give access in a moment. I'll go through that. We can give access to a particular base, or we can give access to absolutely everything. And for this course, I'm going to give access to everything. So I'm going to click save. And what we'll see now is we get a pop-up window which is going to go through what we're going to give access to. So we can see here we've got a plus button for add base, so I'm just going to click there. And what we can see in here is we get a couple of options. We've got all workspaces, my first workspace, and we also see that untitled base that it created during the sign up process. For me, I'm not really bothered, so I'm going to select all current and future bases option. So I'm going to click on that one. Basically this means that every time I create a new base within Airtable, I don't have to go through this process again. It will be then available for me to select when we go through and start connecting the particular bases to make.com. So with all that selected now, I'm going to click grant access, and that will go off, and we can see that's working away, and here we go. So we can see that that's now connected because we will see we have the option to select a base. So I'm going to select the untitled base. It takes just a couple of seconds to load this bit. There's only one table, so I'm going to select table 1. Okay, and there is no trigger fields in there at the moment, but you can see we're starting to get all of the options that we're going to need for watching for changes within that particular base. So that's that part of the process set up. What I need to do is go through and give access. So Airtable and make.com then have write access to the database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the little plus on the right hand side of the module, and you'll see that Airtable is at the top because we've just used it, which is kind of handy. And as we start adding in different applications with this scenario, it'll start populating this in a list, so it's really handy to use. So I'm just going to click Airtable, and I'm then going to go through and create a record. That's the one I would like. And we can see here we've got a connection, and we've got the choose an account. So I'm going to hit the drop down, and we can see that Airtable All Access, which I created for the other module. So I'm going to click on that one, and straight away we get met with a permissions window. Basically this is the step where once I click continue, we're going to get the pop-up which will go through the granting of access. So I'm going to click continue, and here comes the pop-up. Okay, so now we can see in here we now need to go to add base. And again, I'm going to do this top one, all current and future bases, and then grant access. Okay, so that's all creating. We can then select select that untitled base. We could select table 1. Lovely. And now we can see those fields that are within that table base. Test this. What we're going to do is I'm just going to open up the create a record, and within name I'm just going to type test and click OK. And what I'm then going to do is right click on that module and then hit run this module only. And what it will do is it should then create a new row within that database called test. So if I go back to that untitled base, we can see there we've got name test. Brilliant. So that gives me the confidence that we've got our connections all set up and ready to go, which is fantastic. And we can then use that within any of these scenarios going forward. Within the next video, we're going to go through then how to create the connection to Anthropic Claude. And this will then give us the access to start creating the social media posts. So I'll see you in the next video. In the last video, we went through connecting Airtable to make.com, and now we're going to start connecting the AI that we're going to use within the project, and that is going to be Anthropic. So what we're going to do is if you shift and then click and drag around the modules, oops, just got to deselect that, there we go, you'll see that it then selects them. We get a nice little dashed animation there. So I'm just going to hit the delete key to get rid of those. And now we're left again with a blank scenario. So I'm going to click the plus button here, and I'm going to start typing in Anthropic. And here we go. We've got Anthropic Claude and create a prompt. So we want the create a prompt. So I'm going to click there. And again, we're met with the screen to create a connection. So I'm going to hit create connection. And here we go. So I am going to call this, that. And what we now need to do is go off and get an API key. So I'm going to leave a link below, which will take you to the Anthropic console. And once you get there, it will look like this. And you will then need to go through and create an account. And I will log in now, and I will see you in just a second within the dashboard. Okay, so once you've logged in, you'll be met with this screen. And now we need to go through some of the settings. My account has a lot of sensitive information in there for different clients, so your screens may slightly vary, but I'll take you through that in just a second. So what we first need to do is click settings. And once we're in settings, we need to go down to billing, and you'll need to add funds into your account. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a couple of dollars. And once it's in there, it will then use the amount that you've put into your account when creating the captions and posts using the Anthropic module. So this is really cheap when it comes to costs. So for each post, we're probably only looking maybe one, possibly at the maximum 2 cents per post. So, you know, if you put a couple of dollars in here, there's going to be plenty to play with. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to go off and create some API keys. And we can see the API keys button here. So if we click on that one, we can go off and then get that key that we require. Okay, so now we're on the screen. You might see mine slightly different because I've got a separate workspace, but this part here is exactly what you'll be seeing now, and you'll have the option to create a key. So I'm going to click create key, and here we can start to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it that for now, and then click add. And now we get our API key, so I'm going to click copy key. And what we now need to do is go back to make.com and paste that key back into here, and then click save. Okay, brilliant. So now we know that's working because we can see that we have access to the model selection, and we've got some extra options down here. And that is all we needed to do to connect Anthropic Claude into make.com. And within the next part of the course, we're going to actually start building this incredible social media automation. So I'll see you in the very next video. In this video, we're going to go through how to create the database within Airtable, ready for this automation. So we're almost at the point of creating the automation. We're very close. This is just the last little bit that we need to do in order to have everything in place ready for us for when we create that incredible automation. So we're within the Airtable dashboard, and within the sign up process, we got given a default base. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to change that base and start to create the columns ready for the data that we're going to need. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on the base. If one wasn't provided for any reason and you don't have any bases, if we go down here to click create and then start from scratch, and that would then leave you with this exact setup. So this is just a standard template that Airtable uses for every single database. It's very boring. There's not many columns, but what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to delete all of these fields. Oops. Yeah, so get a couple of errors every now and then, but yeah, I'm just going to delete those fields. Okay, so now we're just left with name, and what I'm going to do is I'm also going to delete the record. So I've clicked on test, right click, and then delete record. If you had multiple down here, you can select all here and then right click and then delete records. So now we're just left with name, and that's it. But we don't really want it to be called untitled base. That's quite boring. So we can click on the where it says untitled base, and we can give it a name. So I'm just going to call it Udemy course, and we can also change the appearance, so we can give it a nice fancy color. Udemy's got a nice purple, so I'll go with that. And there we go. What we also need to do is we can see we've got table 1. We can right click on there and we can then rename the table. So I'm just going to call this social posts, and then save. Okay, so now we've got social posts. Right, now we're ready to start creating the columns. So what I'm going to do is right click on name, and I'm going to edit field, and within this one I'm going to call this post idea. Okay, and that can be a long text, and then what I'm going to do is click save. So the post idea is where we're going to supply the context for the post. What is this social post going to be about? So that's the post idea. And now we've got this button here to add a column, so I'm just going to click on that one. And this one is, if we scroll down, will be a URL. So I'm going to select URL, and within the field name, this will be called reference URL. And this will be for like a blog post or an article online, where we can copy in the URL for that and then use that URL to go off and scrape the information that we need for the social media post, which is incredibly powerful. So we're going to click create field there. And now we need a status column. So I'm going to click plus again, and I'm going to call it status. And for this one, we are going to need a single select, which is just here, single select. And what we see here is we can add option. So I'm going to click add option, and I'm going to call the first option ready. And if you hit enter, that will then start giving the second one. And the second one I'm going to call done. You can change the color of these. So if you see the little blue dots here with the down arrow, you can click on those. I'll give that a nice blue for ready, and then done is green. Perfect. So I'm so happy with that. I'm going to click create field. The next field will be for the platform. So I'm going to hit the plus again, and this again is a single select. And we're going to add in LinkedIn and Facebook. Oops. And Instagram. Okay, and again we can change these colors again. So yeah, LinkedIn's usually a dark blue, that's a slightly lighter blue, and Instagram's a nice hot pink. Lovely. So we also need to give it a name. So this is going to be called platform, and I'm going to hit create field. Okay, so now we need somewhere to store the social media posts. So I'm going to hit the plus again, and we're going to need long text, and the name of this will be created post, and create field. Okay, and the next one is going to be a option where we can select whether or not this post requires an image. So this is going to be a single select, and this is just going to be a simple yes or no. Oops. There we go. So just going to change those colors again just to make it a bit more nice, a bit more colorful. And the column name would be needs image. Okay, so hit create field. Okay, so we've got a couple more fields to go, and this is the information that we're going to create or need to store for the image for each post that needs it. So we are going to need a long text, and this one is going to be called image prompt. Okay, and then click save. So the image prompt, that's just where we're going to store whatever the AI gives us the image prompt. So if we're not happy with it, we can copy that prompt and go and put it into another model somewhere else and then tweak and things like that. So at least there you can see the prompt that it used to create so you can change it. Okay, so the next column will be the image ID. So this just needs to be single line text. I'll call it image ID. And the image ID is what Fal AI will use to reference the images. So when we create an image, it'll be given a unique ID string, and we can then go off in the second scenario we're going to build, and we're going to look up that ID field and ensure that the image created gets linked to the right row within our database. So that's a very important field, the image ID. Okay, so the very last one, I'm just going to call this one image, and it's going to be a attachment. Okay, and that's where the image is going to be stored and displayed. So I'm going to click create field, and that's it. Oh, no, not quite it. Sorry. We also need last modified. So if I scroll down here, we're looking for last modified time, and just to save a bit of typing, we don't need to put a field name in there. If we just hit create field, it'll populate last modified in there for us. So the last modified field is something we're going to use as part of the trigger for the automation. So it's only going to look for things that have recently been modified and also meet the status criteria. But we'll go through that a bit later on when we start building the scenario. So that is the rest of the boring parts done. So we're ready to go and start building the automation. But before we do that very exciting part, we do need to go off and create or install the Fal AI module into make.com. It's a really straightforward process. I'll show you that in the next video. And once that's in place, we're then going to start building the scenario. So I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go through how we can create or install the Fal AI custom module that I built for you guys. So although make.com has thousands of applications, they don't have absolutely everything. So Fal AI is a really great platform for creating images. So if I just quickly show you their homepage here, and if we go to explore, we can see all the different kinds of modules that are within here. And yeah, some of these are brilliant. So if I click on this one here, we can see here we've got like an API, and without getting too technical about it, we'll use HTTP requests. And what I've done is I've created the custom app which will interact with this API, and all you'll ever need to do is input the prompt for the image and a webhook address, and then select a couple of options for image sizes and things like that. So yeah, we're not getting into coding or anything like that. I've done all that for you, and what I'm going to do now is take you through the very simple setup process to install this incredible custom app. So you'll find a link to this down below in the course description. And what I'm going to do is go off and click on that link. Okay, so this will bring you onto this screen, so we can see we're going to install a module called Fal.ai, and within here we can see which modules are currently available for Fal, and there is actually going to be a 7th module within here, and that will be for Flux 1.1 Pro Ultra, which is their latest. So yeah, so these actions may look slightly different depending on when you come through and install. I will be updating this app continuously because I use it for different things myself. So as new models get added and I add them into this custom app, then your custom app within make.com will be automatically updated. There's no need to come back and install or manually go through an update. Once it's in there, it's done. It's really as straightforward as that. So what I'm going to do now is click install, and what we'll do is if you're already logged in, to your account on make.com, you'll come up here and it will show your organizations. So for me, I've got 2 organizations within my account. But I'm going to use my Make Automations account. For you, it will probably just be called by default is My Organization, so you'll just tick that one. But I've already got it installed on that one, so I can't do that. And then I'm going to click Install, and it's just going to say, here we go, install successfully. And that was as easy as it gets. So I'm just going to click Finish Wizard, and then we're taken straight back to the dashboard. So if I now go within my organization and I look at my installed apps, there we go. I've got Fal AI. Perfect. And that's all we need to do for installing the app. But what we do need to do now actually is to go off and create a API key and create an account. So we're going to go back, or in fact we can do the create a new scenario up here in the top right. And once this is loaded, so if we just start searching for Fal, here we go. It doesn't matter which module we pick. I'm just going to go 1.1 Pro. And then we've got the create a connection like we have done on the previous modules. So I'm going to click on that one, and I'm just going to quickly rename that. And now we need to go off and create a API key. So with on the Fal platform, so if I navigate back to the home page, they don't make this overly clear. So we'll go through this with you. So we'll need to go through on the Get Started. You would think, oh, great, well, where do I start? Well, there's a sign up button just down here that's kind of hidden, which we'll click on the sign up. And now we've got to go off and log in with our GitHub account. So you do need a GitHub account in order to use Fal AI. So if you don't have an account, click Create Account, and that will take you through the GitHub setup process. You will need to obviously verify emails and all that sort of stuff. But once you get past all of that, you'll be taken back to Fal, where you'll be met with your dashboard. So yeah, go through, either sign in with GitHub if you already have an account, or go through and create one, and I'll see you on the other side within Fal and show you where we can grab the API keys. So now we're logged into Fal AI, you'll be met with your dashboard. It looks a lot different, and if you try and go back to Fal AI, you'll just be taken straight back to your dashboard, so you won't see that homepage again, which is a bit strange. But what we can do now is you can go on Explore, take you back through all the different models that are available. But what we need is API keys. So if I click on API keys, and here we go. So I've got a couple in here already, so I'm just going to click Add Key. I'm just going to call this Udemy again and create key. And I'm just going to copy that key. Oops. And I will go off and input that into there it is into the API key for Udemy, and click Save. Here we go. It should go through, and then it's connected because we can start to see the extra fields within the app. So one thing we'll need to do is to add your card for billing to the account. Otherwise, none of these APIs will work. So we need to go to billing. And once that loads up, we can see here we've got a current balance in there, and you can then start to add some credits to your account, and you can also get notifications as to when you get close to the limit. So you can add in whichever you like. I believe the lowest here is $10 to add. I don't believe there is a way of adding something, a bespoke amount. Oh, actually, no, there is as a custom amount. There we go. So you can add in as much as you like there. And imagine there's a low fee applied to that. There we go. So the minimum's $10. There we go. So that's not too bad. But $10 is going to, we're not going to get through that. Not for a while anyway. But what I do want to show you while we're here is the billing for each model. So we'll find within so 1.1 Ultra, that is in there, and some of these models, they show you just down here. So within the playground, so it says that will be 6 cents per image. So you get 17 per dollar within that for that particular model. And I believe it's the same for everything. Let me just triple check. Yep. So here you can see that that one's got 1 cent per minute. So yeah, it does clearly show you what it is. So do make sure before you go through and start creating loads of images that you understand the billing for each model. But you'll find that the modules I've created within Make, they should be quite easy to find which model it is, because they're nice and easily named. So if I click on here, we can see here we've got Flux 1.1 Pro, that's the 1.1 Pro Ultra, which will be available. I'm just going through and testing that at the moment. And yeah, so yeah, you will easily be able to go off and find those within the search options, and then find out how much each of these cost. But you're looking a couple of cents per image, which isn't too bad. Okay, so now we've got all of that set up. We are now finally at the point of creating the social media automation. So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll start to get the build underway. Welcome back. Now we have everything ready. So we have our Airtable account linked. We have a link to our Anthropic account. We've installed the Fal AI custom module, and we've then gone off, created accounts and connected that into make.com. And now we've finally got to the point where we can start to build the automations. And all of this setup process that you've done for the AI, Airtable and Fal, you will never have to do that again unless you delete the connections out of your connection list here on in the left-hand menu. So here we go. How do we start creating the scenarios? So we're going to go to the scenarios tab on the scenarios button on the left menu. Okay, now we can see we've got all scenarios and uncategorized. Make.com doesn't really do an amazing job of storing things within folders. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a folder. So you can see here we've got folders and then a plus button. So I'm going to click that and just going to call that a Udemy course. Okay, and then click save, and now we can see that course has been created. One thing to watch out for: if you create a scenario now, you'll see that all scenarios is selected, so it won't go into this course folder. So you need to make sure that we've selected the course folder, and we can see that here we've got the title of the folder. And now everything that we create with the create new scenario, that will then get stored in that folder. So it'll make life a lot easier in the long run, because if anything like me, when I started creating these automations in Make, I didn't really care about the folder structure, and I got so excited, and I was creating, hundreds of different automations, and yeah, and then I had to go back through and then categorize them and put them away in folders after a while, because it was getting out of hand. So best practice: start creating folders and keeping them nice and organized. Don't be like me. So what we're going to do now, so I'm going to get the create a new scenario, and here we go. So now we've got the purple button, and we can see Airtable is already down here. Airtable will be our trigger. So a trigger in Make is something, it's going to sit here and it's going to watch for something to happen, and when it does and it meets that criteria, it will start the rest of the scenario. So I'm going to click on Airtable. Okay, and the one that we want is watch records. There is an option for watch responses, which is instant, but that will start using the automation credits that you get within Airtable, and you only get 100 automations, so you could only run that 100 times a month, and you'll very quickly run out. And there's a bit of coding that goes on in there as well, so it's not very beginner friendly. So we're just going to stick with the nice and easy watch record. So I'm going to click that one, and straight away, because we've created the connection in the earlier video, straight away it's come up and said that Airtable all access. Perfect. That's the exact one we want. If it isn't the one you want, and you've created different things within your account, you can hit the drop down menu and then select whichever one you wish, but we've only got one here, so that's perfect. What we now need to do is select the base. So if I do the drop down here, we've only got one base. So perfect, I'll click that one. And then it's going to go off and prompt me for which table we wish to watch the data for. So I'm going to click social posts. If you didn't change that, that would be called table 1. But what that is whatever it's called here within Airtable. So for me, social posts by default is table 1. Okay, so now that's all selected. We've got a trigger field. So the trigger field is what it's going to look for changes. So if I hit the drop down, we've only got one trigger field, which is last modified. So I'm going to click last modified. And now we need the label field. So this is kind of a way of being able to see which row is being triggered. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call that the post ID, because that's going to be in plain text. It's not going to be like a really complicated ID number that you're not going to understand. So I'm just going to click post ID, and now we get prompted to do a limit. So the limit is every single time that this automation triggers, this is the amount of rows within that database that it's going to process. So if we run this every hour and we have 50 within, if we have 50 posts within there waiting, it'll only grab 10. And then in the next hour, it will then grab the next 10, and then it will keep going through until that is 0. But that also that would take 5 hours. But if you know you're going to create and cut in big bulk, you can change that number to whichever you wish. For me, I'm just going to keep it standard as 10 because I'm not going to go crazy. But one thing I would suggest is when you're testing and you already have like a big data set in there, is set that to 1, and then at least then you know you're not going to be quickly automating all these different posts, maybe potentially running into errors and things like that. So so for testing it will go 1, but for this we're just going to keep it at 10 because we haven't got anything in there yet, so so there's no real risk. The view, so within Airtable there is a grid view. You can configure different views, so it could be calendar, gallery. Within there you can add different filters and groups and things like that, but for us we're not going to bother with that, but that is there just in case you need it. We're just going to leave that blank. Now we will need a formula, and the formula we need is it's going to not process absolutely everything. All we want are the posts that are recently modified and have the status of ready. So I am just going to copy this in here. In the formula box. So we got an and a function, and we're looking for status in the curly brackets. So that links to the column called status, and we need to make sure we've got that typed in correctly. So it needs to be, if you've got a capital S, it needs to be exactly the same within this formula. And what we're looking for is equals and then ready, and we need to make sure that's within the double quotes. So here we go. So I'm going to, now that's all ready to go, I'm going to click OK. Okay, and it's going to prompt me as to when I would like this to start from. So I'm going to do from now on and click OK. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to go through and just test, just to make sure this is ready to go. So if I go to the database and I click this little plus here, and I'm just going to call this test post. And one thing we do need to do is make sure that we select these states of ready. If we leave that blank, it won't return anything, and it may look as if there's an error. But what we're wanting to see is when we run this module, that it will start showing us some of the data within this database. So with that selected, and because we said from now on within the initial setup, when we click run once, it should find that one. And here we go. So now we can see we have one bundle, and it's called test post. That was the time it was created, and it had the status of ready. Perfect. That's just exactly what we needed. Now, if you did run into an error and you forgot to input the status, I will just quickly show you that now. So if I do run once now, here we go. So we've got operation, and it's come up with 0. So if you see data size is 0, it came back with no data whatsoever. So you just got to triple check and make sure that that's ready, and it needs to be ready because of the formula that we supplied. So here we go. Now we're good to go. What we do need to do now is we need to start going through and adding in the different routes within the system. So if I bring over this this part here. Okay, so what we need to do now is we're going to start creating the different routes. So we've got a split here, and we're going to then go off and create posts based on the URL. And we've also got the route down here, which should go off and create posts with where we don't supply a URL. So that's the aim, and now we need to go off and do that. So if I move all of this out of the way again. Okay, so how to create a route. Here we go. So we're going to click the plus button, and we're going to go to flow control and router. Okay, and straight away by default it shows up with two different bubbles here, which is just ideal. That's what we need. And what we need to do with what we'll do is we'll start building out the first leg, which will go through creating a post based on a URL, and then we'll come back and we'll start to use some of the copy paste functions and things like that. So we're not going to build all of this manually. There are going to be a couple of shortcuts. You'll be glad to know. So what I'm going to do now is click the grey plus button on the first leg, and we need a HTTP module, and we need the get file. Okay, so that's all done in there, and the URL. So if you click in URL, what you can see is we now get access to all of the data from the database. So if I hover over reference URL, you can see the Airtable module in blue is pulsating. So we know that's the data where we're going to be grabbing it from, which is ideal. So we want the reference URL, so I'm going to click on that. And now we can see that that's populated within the URL field. Perfect. And that's how you link the data together between modules. It works the same for everything. And yeah, you'll be very familiar with it by the time we've built this scenario. So I'm going to click OK. And one thing we do need to do is we also need to create some filters. So the way make works is what it will do is if you don't have filters, it will send the data up the first leg, and it will complete the entire process, and then it will come down, and then it would then come down the second leg and then complete the full process for that leg, and then for the third and fourth, it would just keep going and going and going. But what we want is it either has a URL or it doesn't. So what we need to do is create some filters. So to do that, we just click on the line that comes out of the router. So we're going to click there, and now we can see the filter options. So the condition, so I'm going to click in there, and again we get to pick the data. So I'm going to put reference URL, and under the operators, so you can see text operators, and it's got equal to. So if you click anywhere along here, you'll then get all the different options, but we just need a basic one, and all we need is that the URL exists. So an URL has been pasted into that field in the database. And so you can also give it a label. So I'm just going to put has URL, and then once we click OK, we can see now we've got a grey filter button there, and we've also got the label there for has URL. Perfect. And we also then need to do the opposite for the second leg. So we'll do that now while we're here. So I'm going to put in there, I'm going to call that no URL, and that would be reference URL as the condition, and does not exist, and then click OK, and that's it. That's how you can create filters. You can get really complicated on the filters. We've got a couple more to do within this scenario, but yeah, they're quite basic. But yeah, you can get into all kinds of stuff and say, well, if a number is greater than or equal to this, and you can get very complicated very quickly. But for this automation, it's quite simple. So the next step we need to do is once we give a URL to this HTTP module, what it's going to do is it's going to grab all of the data. It's going to download the entire HTML file for that particular web page. So we're going to get all of the code, and then we're just not, we're going to get absolutely everything. And we don't need everything. We just need the text within that web page. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the plus button next to the HTTP module. And what we need to do now is, if I start searching for HTML, and we can see here now we've started to get a text parser. That's the one we want. So I'm going to click text parser. And what we want is HTML to text. So I'm going to click on that one. And here it's asking for, well, what HTML and where's it coming from. So I'm going to click this field here. And now we can see we've not only got the database in the first module, but we've also got the HTTP module in here as well. So that's where the data is. And we're just going to select data in that one and click OK. And what this module does is it clears out all of the extra code from the HTML website. So it does a great job, but it just doesn't go far enough. We don't want to be feeding an AI module with all of the text from a menu or related articles. We don't care about that. We just want to give it the meat within the article. So what we need to do now is we're going to use AI to take a look at the output of this text parser and to strip out everything and just give us the bit that we need. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hit the plus button, and within here I'm going to search for Anthropic. Here we go. And here we go. We've got Anthropic create a prompt. Okay, so within here, as before, we created the connection, so it's already remembered that, which is perfect. And within here we get the different models. So I'll very quickly go over the models. So 3-5 Haiku is the latest and cheapest model that they have available. 3-5 Sonnet, so that is also, again, one of their latest models that Anthropic provide, but it's quite expensive. It's really good at writing creatively, and we'll use it later on to create the post. But when we're doing really boring tasks like stripping out, menu structures and just finding the bits we need, we're just going to need Haiku for that. So what I'm going to do is hit 3-5 Haiku. We're just going to keep that as it is. And Haiku is also actually quite faster than Sonnet, which is ideal. So the next part we've got here, we've got a required field of max tokens. So for this, I'm just going to put in 4,000. That is the maximum that make.com will allow, but if you dig into the API documents, you'll find it's a bit more than that, but Make won't let you go higher than 4,000. So that's just is what it is. But now we can see that we've got messages. So now we need to create the prompts and give it the data that we would like that we drip out. So we're going to click on add message. So now we get given the role. So the role will be user, and now we get content. So we're going to hit add content, and the content will be type text. Okay, and now we need to go off, and all the prompts will be copied in below. So this will be the grab the text we need. So I'm going to hit Command V in here, and as you'll see, this box is actually quite small. But if you hit the 4 arrows up here, that'll make it just a little bit bigger. So it makes it a little easier to read, so we can see what's going on. This prompt's really basic, doesn't need to be anything crazy. But yeah, we're just asking it not to give any context or reasoning, and just to find the bit we need within the data we're going to provide. Okay, so the next part is we need to supply the data. So we're going to come down here and we're going to click add content, and the type will be of text. Okay, so I'm just going to paste this in here and I'll delete that. So we now need to supply the website data. So you'll find that I provide things within square brackets, and the square brackets is that it's a way that the AI can understand it a bit better. So we have website data, and then within the brackets we'll give it the data so it knows what to look for. So what we need to do is we need to provide it the data from the text parser, which is here. So I'm just going to click there and make sure that's within the brackets, and that's it. That's all ready to go. So I'm going to click OK out of there, and we're off and ready. One thing we do need to do is you'll find that make.com will just have things like HTTP, text parser, Anthropic Claude. It doesn't really give you much context as to what's going on behind there, but you can rename all of these modules. So I'm going to very quickly do that now. So on the HTTP, I'm going to right click on there and I'll click rename. And this will be get website data. Okay. And the next one, so we're going to rename that, and that's convert to text. Okay, and the Anthropic module, I'm just going to rename that and get the text we need. Oops. Okay, so now we have a bit of an idea as to what's going on. Okay, so here we go. So the next bit now is we need to start creating the post, and each post for each platform we're going to provide a different prompt. So Instagram has different visual ways of doing captions versus LinkedIn and things like that. So we're going to create different routes within the system for each platform type. So for that we're going to need another router. So I'm going to click the plus button on the AI module, and we're going to go flow control and router. Okay, so now we've got two extra bits up here, but I'm just going to right click on there and do add route because we're going to need 3. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out just a touch so we can see it a bit easier. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the Instagram leg, and once we've done the Instagram leg we can then copy and paste the legs, so this will speed up the process a hell of a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the grey plus button at the top, and we're going to need a Anthropic Claude module and create a prompt. Okay, and again we're back within the dialog. Okay, so like I mentioned before, you can use Haiku for this. It will be cheaper and quicker. Sonnet 3-5 Sonnet is more expensive and a bit slower. So it depends on how creative you would like your posts to be. I think for me, Haiku it does a decent job, but it's kind of up to you to go away, test, and see what fits with how you write your posts. So the maximum tokens, we're just going to put that in as 4,000. Okay, so now we need to start adding in the messages again. So we're going to click add message. The role is user. Content is text. And I'm just going to make this a bit bigger again so we can see what's going on. And I'm just going to copy the prompt into here. Here we go. So this is giving the content, the instructions for the AI to create an Instagram post. By all means, you can go through and edit this to whichever formats you like. You know, this is just something to get you started. You wouldn't normally add in things like brand voice and give it examples of your successful posts that you've had in the past, and it will then use those as a template to build your post going forward. So this is just something fairly straightforward and simple to get you started. Okay, so now we've got that in place, we then need to link the data. So I'm going to go to add content, and again that type is of text, and now we need to go off and grab the next part, which will link the data. So I'm going to paste that in there. Okay, I'm just going to delete those out of there just so we can show you selecting them. So we need to add in the idea of the post. So that is coming from the first module, which is the database module from Airtable, and that'll be post idea. So I'm going to click there and that'll add that in. And now we need the website copy. So I'm going to click within here, and we can see here we got the output of Anthropic Claude, the get the text we need module, and what we need is the top part, which is text response. So I'm going to click that, and now it will get the idea of the post and then all of the additional context from the article. Perfect, that's all we need for that. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, right, so I'm going to rename this one. So that is, oops. There we go, it's from captions. Perfect. And now what we need to do is we need to go and save this information back to the database. So what we're doing here is you may not want to add an image every single post. You may want to use a different platform, different tool. You may have your own design team that does, the pictures. It might be on your phone or whatever. So we need to save this data and then also then have a filter after it, which would then see if you've selected if you needed an image. So what we need to do is, if I find my mouse, just going to zoom in on this one here. Okay, so I'm going to hit the plus after this AI module, and we're going to go back to Airtable, and we're going to do update a record. Okay, so what we now need to do is, you can see it will load through. We need to select the base, which is the Udemy course base for me, and it will come through with the table. That's social posts. Okay, now it's going to ask the record ID, which is a required field. So if we click in there, we need to scroll down and find Airtable. And we've got this first one here as the ID. So this just makes sure that we're updating the right row within the database. Okay, so this needs to change. So I'm going to toggle map, and we're going to click done. So we can set that from a drop-down list. Lovely. And with the created post, so it's going to be the Instagram captions, and it will be text response. So I'm going to click that one. Lovely, all done. And don't need to worry about anything else beyond that at this point. So I'm going to click OK. So now every single time we get to this point, it's going to go off and save the post caption for Instagram within this module, and that will then be shown in your database. Lovely. So now the data saved, we now need to go off and create the image prompt, and we'll use that to trigger a AI image model and to create an image specific for this post that we've created. So I'm going to click the plus button, and we're going to use Anthropic Claude again and create prompt. And again, we're going to use 3.5 haiku. That's absolutely fine for this use case. And I'm going to put 4,000 tokens. Do add message, and it is user, and the content is type of text, and I'll make this bigger again, and I'll just go off and grab the prompt. Okay, let's paste that in there. Okay, so this one we're just asking it to create an image prompt based on the post that we've created. And again, down here we've told it not to include any reasoning or context. And within my test now found that it was putting in prompt : and then the image prompt. Well, we don't need that, so hopefully we won't see that within the outputs. Again, you can edit this based on anything you like. This is just something to get you started. So with that in place, we now need to link the data. So I'm going to do add content. Again, that's type text, and the text for this one is fairly straightforward. We're just going to supply it the social media post that we've created. So I'm going to click social post. I'm going to delete that out of there just a second so I can show you where I'm getting it from. So it's coming from Instagram captions and text response. Okay. So that is all ready to go. I'm going to click OK. And what we need to do is add a filter between here. So if the Airtable says that we need an image, we just need to make sure we filter out all the ones that don't want an image. So we're not wasting money with Fal AI creating images when we don't need to. So the filter for this one is fairly straightforward. So I'm going to click between these two modules on the line, and I'm just going to call this needs image, and the condition is the needs image within the database. So best practice is always to go to the first module, which is this one down here, and I'm going to click needs image there, and it is going to be a text operator, and it is going to be equal to, so that's fine. I'm just going to type in yes, and that needs to match the case for whatever you have in Airtable. So if it's all lowercase or all uppercase or a mix like mine is, you need to that matches, otherwise it won't trigger that filter and you'll run into a couple of errors. So I'm going to click OK there, and that's added that filter in. Now what we need to do is to go off and create the image. So we're going to click this plus button, and we've added in the AI module in the video. So I'm going to grab that, and we'll get 1.1 Pro Ultra is now in there. Perfect, because that works really nicely. Okay, and now we get all kinds of different options within here. So we've got a prompt. So what we're going to do is we're going to click in here, and that will be just very quickly, actually, I'm going to rename this one to create image prompt. Just makes it a bit easier to find the data. So when I click in here, we can see here it's got create image prompt. Brilliant. I need the text response for that one. That's done. And you can see in here we've got quite a few different options. So we need like the aspect ratio. So I'm just going to keep it at 1:1. And the output format, I'm just going to do PNG. You can turn off safety checkers. You can do all the different safety tolerances. One thing that's really important is the webhook. And what we need to do is we need to go off and now create the second scenario. So what I'm going to do is click OK and save that data. And what we need to do before we go off and create the second scenario is you'll see here we've got integration Airtable. That's the name of the scenario, which isn't particularly great. I'm just going to delete that, and I'm just going to call this social media project part 1. Okay, and once we're happy with that, we can come down here and hit the save button, and I'll just do that now. Okay, now we're ready to go off and look at the second part of the automation. So what we need to do is we need to click back and back again, and then make sure we're in the Udemy course folder. So that would be highlighted in purple, and then create a new scenario. We'll rename this one now. So we'll call this social media project part 2. Okay. And what we're going to need to do is to create a webhook. So essentially what we're doing here is every time you create an image, there is always going to be a time gap between the API Fal AI receiving the image prompt and it actually creating the image ready for you to go off and download. So you can add in different modules called sleep modules and things like that. They can sit there and wait for like 30 seconds and then look. But what I find is by incorporating a webhook, we can have this scenario trigger every single time that that image is ready. So if it takes 2 seconds, this scenario will trigger exactly on that time and then just upload the data as and when it's ready, which is ideal. So let's go ahead and create the webhook. So I'm going to click the purple plus, and we can see here at the very top we've got webhooks. So we're going to click that, and what we need is a custom webhook. Okay, and now we have the option to create a webhook. So I'm going to click that, and here we go. So I'm just going to call this get images. You can call it whatever you wish, and that's all we need to do. We just need to click save, and now we get a URL address up here. So I am going to copy that address to the clipboard, and then what I'm going to do is go back to the other scenario and paste that within the Fal module. So let me just quickly go and do that. So I'm just going to duplicate this tab very quickly and go back to scenarios. Here we go. So now I'm back within the project 1, part 1 of the scenario. So I'm going to click on the Fal module and I'm going to paste in that webhook. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Now, one thing we should do is test that the scenarios are working and that linkage is working fine. So I'm going to click OK out of here and I'm going to save. And what I'm going to do is have click run once. And what we can see here is it's now got this like wait button, so it's now sat there and it's waiting for something to happen. So we need to make something happen. So we're going to go back to scenario 1, and on this Fal module here, we're going to right click on it and then run this module only. Okay, so it's known that we've linked the text response for the image prompt. So we can input an image prompt here. So I'm just going to put a car, doesn't really matter. And you put in whatever you wish. And once we click OK, that would then trigger the API within Fal. And then once it's ready, it would then trigger the webhook within the second scenario. So I'm going to click OK. And we can see that's run, and we've got the ID there. Perfect. So I'm just going to go back to this scenario. We'll just wait a few minutes and wait for the data to come through. Okay, so that took a couple of seconds, and what we can see here is the webhook is triggered, and we've got the output here, so we can see the request ID. And if we go down in payload, we go in images, and we can see here we've got the image URL. So I hate to think what it's come up with the image prompt, but what I can do is just click in here. There we go, a car. Yes, it did exactly what we asked it to do, kind of. So that now means that that's all working together. Which is perfect. So we can now carry on completing the part 1 of the automation. So I'm going to go back to part 1, and what we now need to do is just to tidy things up. And what we need to do is save some of the image data back to the database. So I'm going to click the plus button here. I'm going to click add. So I go to Airtable, and we want to update record. Okay, it's going to take a couple of seconds. We're going to select the base that we're using, and it's going to then ask us for the table, which is social posts. Okay, record ID. I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to scroll all the way down the bottom and get that ID at the start for best practice. And we're not going to change the status, but what we do want is image prompt. So we're going to click in here, and where we've got image prompt from the AI, I'm going to click text response, so we save that. And what we also need is the image ID. So I'm going to click in here, and you'll see the Fal module here, and what we're looking for is this request ID, and we're going to use that within the part 2 of the scenario to go off and save the image to the right area in the database. So with all that done, I'm going to click OK. Okay, that's it. We've created the first leg, and that is all ready to go. So what we're going to do now is to finish off creating the part 2, and then we're going to come back and complete the part 1 scenario. So if I go back to the part 2, and what we need to do within this one is we need to go off and search the database, and we need to go and find that request ID, and then from that we can then get the record ID within the database, and then make sure that we're adding that image link to the right record within the database. It's really straightforward to do. There's only a couple of modules for this one. So I'm going to click the plus next to webhooks, and what I'm going to do here is we're going to scroll down to Airtable, and we're going to do the search records. Okay, so now we've got the search records, we've got the right access, so I'm going to select the base like we normally do, and then the table. It's just take a few minutes to load sometimes. Right, so search records. Okay, so we are going to need within the search records we can output all kinds of different information that we wish. Just to make life easier, we can just hit select all, and it would then supply all of the data for later on. We don't really need it, but just to make life a little easier, we'll just add it. And now we need to go in and add in the formula, so it knows what we're looking for. So I'm going to copy this formula in here, and I'm just going to delete that just for a second. So we have another and function, and what we're looking for is within the column called image ID. So we need to make sure that that is absolutely perfect with the right capital letters in the right place. So I'm just going to double check that. Yep, that matches. Good. Oops, wrong one. There we go. And what we need to do is we need to find the image ID that we've just saved. So that comes from the webhook. So if we click in here and do the request ID, so request ID needs to be within the double quotes. Okay, so if your formula looks like that, then we're all good to go. So it's going to, as soon as the image is finished, it's then going to search the database for that request ID, and we save that request ID as part of the end of the part one of the scenario. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, so that's all done. And now we need to go off and get the record. So what we need to do now is in here, we just click the plus, go back to Airtable and get record. Okay, and we need to select the base again. Now we need the record ID. So that will be from the search. So we're going to click ID, click OK. Okay, so that's all ready to go. And then the last little bit we need to do is go back to Airtable again, and we need to update a record. So we are going to grab the, need to select the base and table again. Here we go. So now I need to get the ID from the get record. And what we need to do now is come all the way down to we've got image, and attachments is done slightly differently here. So you'll see we've got an add item. So we're going to do add item. And now we need the file URL, and that comes from the webhook. So we need to scroll down, and where we've got images, so I'm going to open that one, and then we've got URL. So I'm going to click there. That's it, all done. So now every time a image completes, it will search the database to find the right request ID, and once it finds it, it will then add the image, so the image and the post all matches within the database. Okay, perfect. Now that's part two completely done. We don't need to come back here, but what we do need to do is obviously save it with the little save icon, and what we need to do is also toggle the immediately as data arrives. So we're going to do that, and it will say run scenario, and it's got immediately, yes, and we're going to click OK. So now this is just going to sit there and wait for that webhook to be triggered. So it can be on 24 hours a day. It's not using any operations. It just sits there and waits for something to come through. So now we don't have to worry about this ever again. We can leave that alone. So let's go back to part one. Okay, so now we need to create the legs for Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay. So to do this, what we're going to very quickly do actually is I'm going to delete these grey modules. So I'm just going to right click on them and then click delete and tidy things up. And what we're going to need to do now is shift and then drag over these items so we can see that they're selected. And what we're going to do is right click and copy modules, and then in the white space we're just going to hit paste. And yes, I do want to allow it to do that. And now it's going to paste that entire row out the way a little bit. So I'm just going to click and drag, and there we go. We can see that it's automatically attached it to that router. Perfect. That's just what we needed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that again, and I'm going to just put it down here. And as you can see, it's connected again to the router. If it didn't connect to the router, what you can do is you can use this little selector here on the left hand side of the module, click and drag, and then connect that to the router, and then that's all nicely connected. Brilliant. What we need to do as well is just to make, we can see this isn't quite fully aligned. So you can see this little magic wand does the auto align. So we're going to click that. And that makes everything all nice and neat, lovely. And now what we need to do is to create the filters for each platform type. So we only want Instagram posts to come up to the Instagram route, and then we only want Facebook and then LinkedIn to come down here as well. So what we're going to do is click on the line between here, between the root and the AI module, and oops, it didn't quite work for me. There we go. Click in the right place, and I'm going to call this Instagram. And the condition, if we go all the way down to the database, so it's going to be platform, and then is equal to, and it's going to be Instagram. Okay, and then click OK, and that's that filter applied. And the next one would be Facebook, so I'm going to click on this line again. I'm just going to call that Facebook. Okay, we're going to come back down to the platform and then equal to Facebook. Okay, and then we're going to do that again one last time for LinkedIn. So that will be platform is equal to, oops, LinkedIn. Okay, and one thing we do need to do is to rename these modules. So I'm going to right click on this one and rename. So that'll be Facebook post. And let's change this one here so it all matches, and this will be LinkedIn post. Okay, so now that's ready to go. One thing we do need to do is to add in the Facebook and LinkedIn prompts. So again, these will all be available down below in the descriptions. So I'm just going to open the Facebook module, and we can see, because we've copied it, it's all Instagram. So I'm just going to click within the box, Control or Command A, and then paste that in there. So now we can see that this one is the Facebook one. Perfect. And then it doesn't matter about the data below, because that's the same as it was before. So we're going to click OK there, and that's the Facebook one ready to go. And now I'm just going to do the same for LinkedIn. So if I come in here and then select all of that and then paste over the top, and then we've got LinkedIn. Brilliant. All of that's all still linked together. Perfect. So I'm going to click OK, and that is all ready to go. One thing I would say is to just triple check that everything's all linked together. So if you go into, oops, sorry, not that one, the Airtable one here in the middle, and what we should see is it's taking the text response, and you can see it pulsating there with the Facebook post. Brilliant. So that's grabbing the data from the right place, and I just want to make sure that filter's right. Yep, that's need image. Perfect. And everything else should be absolutely fine. So it's took the webhook URL from the original that we copied, so that's all ready to go. Brilliant. So that was really straightforward and easy to do. But yeah, it's always good practice just to triple check that everything is connected and ready to go, because you don't want it to start to run and then you start hitting all kinds of errors with things not being available. So that is the part done now for creating a LinkedIn post, a social media post based on a URL. So what we now need to do is create the routing, where we're going to create a post where we're not going to provide any additional context like the URL. We're just going to provide a text input, and then it's going to create the post just on that text input. So to make life easier, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit more copy and pasting. So before we start that, we can see here we've got the no URL route, and that's going nowhere at the moment. So we're going to click there, and we're going to go to flow control, and we need a router. Lovely. And I'm going to right click and delete on those buttons there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift left click, oops, if it'll let me, Here we go. I select all of these here, and I'm going to copy those modules and then paste them. And I'm just going to move them down just a little bit here. There we go. So that's connected there. We can see here that it's not all fully connected yet. So I'm going to click and drag that one into there. And click and drag that one into there. And you can see it's already brought the filters across. So I just want to triple check those filters are correct. Platform LinkedIn, perfect. Facebook, yeah. And Instagram, brilliant. So that's already brought all that through. And what we now need to do is just click the auto align, and that moves everything all nice and neat. And before we make any sort of errors, I'm going to click save. And it's going to come up with, there's a few errors. I don't really mind. I'm just going to save those because I'm going to fix those in just a second. So we can see here that these AI modules have got a yellow number 1. So what we need to do is, what that means is that there's a warning, caution within that module. So something's not quite right. And what that will be is it's looking for the data from the website or from this AI module up here, but it's not on that route, so it wouldn't see it, and we don't need it. So what I'm going to do is click on the module, and I'm going to scroll down, and we can see here we've got that text response here is it's not in a dark filled color. So all we're going to do is just delete all of that, because we're just going to supply that the post idea, and then click OK, and that number 1 with the yellow dot was gone. So now we need to do the same for the other 2. So just going to delete up to there, click OK, and then we'll do the last one. There we go. And everything should still all be nice and neatly linked together. There shouldn't be any sort of errors going on there, which is all looks good. Perfect. So that was it. We've built the automation, and we've used a few techniques here. So we've used routing and filtering. We've copy and pasted lots of different modules. We've linked lots of data together. So that should give you plenty of background knowledge as to how all of this links together. And in the next video, I'm going to go through and show you how this all works and how it can be used. So I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so in the last video, it's quite a long one, but we created the automation. And what we've created is 2 different scenarios. This is the main scenario where we're going to be creating the posts. We're going to be scraping data from websites and triggering the creation of images. And then the second scenario was then to get the completed image from Fal AI and then save that into the database. But we haven't yet tested it. So what do we do for testing? That is a great question. So I'm going to make sure that part 2, which we set to immediately arrives, is still selected. That is good. But what I will do is I'll click back on this one, and you can see down the side here is it lists when this was run, and it will show you if it ran into any errors or when it completed successfully. So I'm going to keep it on this one, and it just gives you a better overall view of what's going on. And you can also then go through and click through each time it executes, so you can see what data went where and at what time. So yeah, we'll leave it on this screen, gives you a bit more detail. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to the Anthropic Claude. I mean, we've used plenty of their AI models within this scenario. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming to their news page, and I would like to start creating some posts based on their blog posts. So this one here for Amazon, perfect. So what I would like to do is create a post, and what I'm just going to be lazy. I'm going to copy the title, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in my post idea. So I click the little plus button there to the post idea, and what I'm going to do is I'm then going to copy the URL and then pop that into the reference URL. Okay, and I put the status to ready, and let's say we would like an image. Yes. Okay, so we also need to select the platform. So I would like this to be, well, let's do Instagram. Okay, so now we are all ready to go. So once this is all set up, yeah, we're now ready to trigger the scenario. So we'll go to the part 1, the big one, and if we hit run once, it will then take a look at the database, see if anything's been recently modified and meets that criteria of being ready. So I'm going to click run once. There we go. And now we go, here we go, we can see the data. So I'll quickly show you the HTTP module. So if you click on the little bubble after it's completed, you can click on data and look at all this, crazy amount of code that this has grabbed. So that's not very helpful. But what we can see here is it's already run through and scraped everything with the AI module. And if I click on the bubble here and then do text response, there we go. It's just grabbed the text that we needed, which has worked perfectly. And as we can see already, it's already run up here. It's created the post. It's shown that we needed an image. It's triggered that. And I bet you if I look at part 2, that's already triggered. Here we go. So we can see in the history that succeeded, and we got the bubbles here saying with number 1 saying that was all complete. So if I now look at the database, we can see in here, in fact, one way to make things a little easier is you've got the row height button. So I'm going to put that to extra tall, and for the created post, I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so it created quite a small post there, but it created one. Obviously you can hit the prompt to match whichever you need, and now we can see here we've got the image prompt that it's created. Brilliant. It's even gone down into the type of camera and lens it was used, and then it's created this image to go with that post. So it's even got the AWS logo back there. That's brilliant. I didn't think it would go so far as grabbing that sort of logo, but there you go, it did. That's brilliant. Now we know that that's all up and running and working. What we can do is then start to create things in bulk. Okay, so now we need to click the plus, and I am going to copy the idea, and I'm going to copy the URL. Brilliant. And I want the platform to be Facebook. We'll do image yes again and make that ready. Brilliant. And what I'll do is I'll come right click on this row, and I'm going to click duplicate post, and we're then going to make that LinkedIn. So that's all ready to go. And what I'd like to do as well is just to quickly show you, so if I go back on this page, and let's say, well, I'm really lazy today. I just want to create a post based on that part of the post. So I'm just going to copy that. And what I'm going to do is hit the plus, and then I'm just going to copy that into the post idea. I'm going to mark that as ready. Let's make that a LinkedIn post. And yeah, why not? Let's have an image, and let's create that for the other platforms as well. So I'm going to right click, duplicate post, do that twice, and make sure that one's Facebook, make sure that one is Instagram. Okay, so now we've got 5 posts that are ready to go. And we've got 2 that are going to use the URL, and 3 that aren't, and we're going to need images for all of them. Okay, so what we need to do now is tap run once, and it will go off and grab that data. It's going to grab the first result, and any minute now it should then go through and grab all of that. There we go, it's creating the Facebook post, and we should start seeing that populate any second now. There we go. So that's that Facebook post there. It's already been added. And now it's started to then move on to the second one. So now we've got a number 2. So this is the second time that this module's triggered. And now it's creating the second post. So what we'll do is we'll let that run, and we'll come back and see when it's all complete. I'll run through and complete. So we can see here that it's come up here twice to grab the data from the website, and it's created a Facebook and LinkedIn post, and we can see that because we've got the bubbles with number 1 going along here. And we can also see on this filter here is it's triggered that one twice. But what it's also done is it's triggered this one 3 times, where we just provided that single paragraph from a post. And then we can see here that it's then created the Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn posts. And we can see all of those have gone through and completed. And now if we go back and have a look at the database. Okay, so now we can see all of this is all nicely populated. There's all the images. God, that's even got, that's not actually that far off the Anthropic font. That's really clever. Wow. Okay, that's actually really impressive. Sometimes AI images can be hit and miss, but I think these are actually pretty good. Yeah, that one maybe not so much, but yeah. Okay. Wow. Brilliant. So as you see, everything's all been done, and what we can do if you want to see like the post or the information in more detail is on each row is you'll see there's an expand button. So if I click that, you'll get a pop-up, and within here now we can clearly see the post that is created and all the hashtags. And we can scroll down here, we can see the image, we can download the image and things like that. So that is all run and complete, which is perfect. And that is pretty much it. But how long did that take to run? So in that particular run, we did 5 posts, 2 with the URL, 3 without. So if we go back here, I'm going to quickly click save. And if I go back, we can see this in the history. So that took 1 minute to create 5 posts. So yeah, just think how long that would normally take you to create posts based on a long article. You know, that could take you probably about half an hour to create that many, but at least it would for me, but if not 2 hours. I'm terrible. So yeah, so that all ran within a minute, which is fantastic. But yeah, that concludes this part of the course. And the next video, I'm just going to very quickly show you how we can set this up to trigger periodically. So you don't ever really have to look at make.com ever again. You can just sit and add things into Airtable. So I'll see you in the next one. Okay, in the last video we went through and created a bunch of posts, but what we don't want to do is, if I open this scenario, what we don't want to do is have to come down here and hit run once every time that we want to create posts. I can get very, you know, we're not about doing manual processes anymore. We want this all to be automated. So what we would like to do is to be able to come to Airtable, add in the rows, and then just let AI sort itself out and the automations, and have that run automatically in the background on a periodic timescale. So how do we do that? So we kind of did this with the part 2, but with this one it's slightly different. So we can see here with the watch records module, we've got a little clock. So we can only run this particular type of module on a time basis. Whereas if I quickly go back to the part 2, we got a lightning bolt. So a lightning bolt means that it will trigger whenever data is received, which is what you want a webhook to do. There's other modules within Make that do that sort of thing. So lightning bolt is instant, and then a clock is not so instant. You've got to set that up on a timescale. So how do we do that? So you can see down here next to the run once, we've got every 15 minutes is what it's at, and the toggle at the minute is grey. If I click the toggle, that will go green, and then we get met with the scheduling settings. So within here we can set a regular interval. So this is all set in minutes. That's where it's getting 15 minutes from. You can just trigger it once and it would never trigger again, which isn't particularly helpful for our use case. We could do it every day at a set time, which could work for us with creating our posts, and we can do days of the week, month, specific dates. I think for this automation it'll either be every day or at a regular interval. So I'm going to select regular intervals, and I'm going to change this to look every hour. So what this will do, I just click OK out of that, and we can see down here we've got every hour. So what this means is every single hour this automation will trigger, and if there's information that meets that criteria of the status being ready, then it will process it. If it doesn't, then what it will do is it will trigger this module, and you'll use one operation every hour. So this is why I don't have it set to anything lower. So you could, I believe, on the free account, I think you can only go as low as 5, but really you can do as low as 1 minute on a paid account. So that means every single minute we're going to be wasting one operation if there's nothing there. So if you're only creating content throughout the day, you know, every hour should be more than enough. So I'm just going to click every hour, but again, that's completely up to you how you wish to do it. But as soon as that's there and green, then that's all good. We're ready to go. We can just click save and then go back, and you can see here it's selected as on, so that's another indication that we're ready to go. And that's it. We're all set up and ready to go. And another way, just to quickly show you actually, is if you go back to the dashboard. Okay, so we can see it's actually running now. Well, I didn't think it was going to do that, but okay, so it's running at the moment. And what this will do is once it's run, it will then reset, and then it will come up with a time saying when it will run again. So if I refresh this, if it's going to finish, there we go. So this is more like it. So now we can see it's not going to run again for another 59 minutes. And we can also see here that the active scenario for part 2 is also ready and waiting. That doesn't have a timer next to it because that triggers immediately once data is received to that webhook. Okay, so that is it. That is everything all set up, ready to go. And that is now the end of the course. I really hope you've enjoyed building this. This just really took you through all of the basics within make.com. There is so many different extra things you can do, all the different apps that are in there, and all kinds of different operations and things like that, which for a beginner would be a bit confusing and hard to get your head around. So I've purposely avoided those, and I'll be creating courses in the future which will be going through more technical things where we're dealing with arrays and iterating through different things, and you know, we'll be doing all sorts of different things. But this is just the basics, and you know, I hope this gives you a good foundation. By all means, go crazy, but you know, the best advice I could give you is just to open Make and start connecting things that you use on a daily basis, and just start using the tool. And before you know it, you'll be really proficient, and you can build all kinds of different automations for yourself or your business. So again, I hope you've really enjoyed it, and I hope to see you very soon in another course.